The year my father went bankrupt, I was handed over to the heir of the mafia. On my 18th birthday, I was just about to confess my feelings to Roman. But then I heard his dismissive scoff, "She's just a kid, what kind of thoughts do you think I'd have for her?" Later, his kissing photo with a celebrity made headlines. In a fit of anger, I accepted a date with one of my suitors. The hotel suite, the door lock just clicked. A strong force gripped my wrist and yanked me inside. The door slammed shut with a bang. The man pinned me against the wall, wordlessly tugging at his tie. "Louder, baby. Make the dogs outside scram." The first time I met Roman was in the living room of my own home. My father had defaulted on his debts, and the family went bankrupt. I went from being a young lady to a debtor. My father had long since run off with his mistress, leaving the villa empty. Alone, I stood there, disheveled in the wind. With a sharp click, a group of bodyguards burst in, followed by a tall, elegantly dressed man. Broad shoulders, a narrow waist, and long legs. He wore a black overcoat and a well-tailored suit, the cuffs rolled up to reveal tattoos. A metallic lighter sparked as he lit a cigarette, which he held between his lips. He looked at me provocatively, every bit the image of a mob boss. "Little girl, where's your father?" My lips twitched as I leaned back against the wall for support. "He ran off long ago." He cursed under his breath and stepped closer to me. With a sinister smile, his large, bony hand gripped my throat. 3 seconds. "Give me one reason not to kill you." My eyes widened in shock. "You might be handsome and cool, but in this day and age, can people just kill others so casually?" But since I'm penniless right now, a flash of inspiration struck me. I blinked at him deliberately. "I'm pretty, I could be your girlfriend." The entire room fell silent. All I could think was, I'll do anything to stay alive. He let out a dismissive laugh, nodded, and raised the back of his hand. "Take her away. With her here, I don't believe your father will stay away forever." When I woke up again, I found myself lying on a large bed, surrounded by opulent yet cold architecture. Hearing the door open, I closed my eyes and pretended to sleep, gathering what information I could. The man who kidnapped me is named Roman, a top-tier business tycoon with ruthless methods. Those who offend Roman end up tightening screws in the underworld. The current situation is that Roman wants to take me as a hostage to force my father to come back and repay the debt. But he doesn't know that my father couldn't care less about me, his heart belongs only to his mistress and stepdaughter. Around 8 in the evening, I woke up again and, in a daze, saw Roman sitting by my bed. In the dim light of the night, he glanced at me sideways. His slender fingers lifted my chin as the corner of his lips curled into a slight smirk. "Your dad just came by," he said. "He wants to ransom you to me." After days of being harassed by debt collectors, I hadn't slept so soundly in a long time, and I was still half asleep. "Oh," I mumbled in response before rolling over to go back to sleep. A chuckle sounded behind me. In the next second, a tie and shirt came flying at my face. Startled, I turned around to find his bare upper torso right in front of me, broad shoulders, sturdy back, and well-defined abdominal muscles. Before I could react, my wrist was seized by a large hand. I was forcefully pressed into the mattress. Instantly awake, I stared at him in horror. "What are you doing?" The man let out a low, amused chuckle, his deep and magnetic voice resonating above me. "Doing you, of course. I can't let myself walk away empty-handed, can I?" My eyes welled up instinctively, tears shimmering in my gaze. The man narrowed his long, narrow eyes, his gaze playfully tracing over my damp lashes. "Sweetheart, how old are you?" My face flushed crimson, my voice as faint as a mosquito's buzz, almost burying itself in the pillow. "16. The air froze for 3 seconds. The next moment, he jerked his hand back as if scalded. He muttered a low curse. "Are you fucking with me?" His tall frame straightened abruptly as he looked down at me from above. The desire in his eyes was replaced with icy disgust. "Still wet behind the ears, brat. Got any hair down there yet?" what a buzzkill. Before he could finish speaking, he irritably grabbed the shirt from the floor and stormed out without looking back, slamming the door behind him. At Roman's estate, I ended up staying for a full 2.5 years. He always scolded my scoundrel of a father for paying off debts with useless junk, forcing a burden on him that now eats and drinks for free. The provisions for my daily needs, food, clothing, and necessities, were no less than what I enjoyed as the young lady of the house before. He even enrolled me in an elite school, allowing me to continue my education. Without him, I might have been forced to drop out of school by my father's creditors, struggling to pay off debts in some corner. Only under his protection did no one dare to touch even a hair on my head. Over time, I found he wasn't as terrifying as the rumors made him out to be. Aside from his venomous tongue, he wasn't actually a bad person. For instance, before, to prove I wasn't freeloading off him, I wanted to do something in return. When his friend visited, I personally made a cup of coffee to serve. But my hand slipped, and I spilled the whole thing on his forehead. I only found out later that he was negotiating a crucial partnership worth $300 million. As a result, the client went back and gave the project to someone else. Roman was absolutely furious, his face turning ashen. He grabbed me by the collar and was about to throw me out the window. Another time, I suddenly got the idea to cook for him. But I didn't fully follow the online tutorial, and the oil in the pan burst into flames towering several feet high. By the time he rushed back from the office, half of the main house was already engulfed in thick smoke. He stormed into the ruins, grabbed me by the back of my neck with bloodshot eyes, gritted his teeth, and swore he'd strangle me to death before throwing my body into the streets for the dogs to eat. But in the end, nothing happened to me. He would scold me a few times, I'd cry a little, then be punished with copying a few pages of text, and that would be the end of it. His deadly threats turned out to be all bark and no bite. No matter how grave the trouble I caused, I always came out unscathed in the end. Under his cold, stern gaze, I grew bolder and bolder. Even to the point of developing inappropriate thoughts about him. Roman only told others I was his niece. Since that day 2 years ago, he never laid a hand on me again. And for a man of his status and position, there was naturally no shortage of women of all kinds around him. I had admonished myself too, what was there to like about such a flirtatious and pragmatic man? Yet once the seedling of affection took root, it couldn't be suppressed. A man like him, who wouldn't want to have him? On the 28th time I feigned illness to have the butler call Roman back from his card game, he finally caught on. The door was pushed open, and the man's silhouette appeared in the doorway. I immediately started coughing violently. His fox-like eyes narrowed slightly as he stared at me in silence for a long moment. Then, with one hand in his pocket, he slowly walked closer. He casually pulled up an armchair and sat by my bedside, crossing his legs. Cough, cough. Roman, am I dying? I spoke between coughs, deliberately feigning weakness in my voice. His brow furrowed slightly, but he didn't respond. Instead, he reached into his pocket for a cigarette, lit one, and took a slow, deep drag. The crimson glow flickered at his fingertips. The smoke curled in the air, blurring the sharp lines of his face and obscuring any trace of his expression. After a long pause, the icy voice pierced through the haze of smoke. Do you really think I'm just a useless private doctor? The implication was clear, he had simply chosen not to expose me earlier. I felt a twinge of guilt. He cut me off before I could finish. And one more thing, call me uncle. Propping myself up on my arms, I gazed at him defiantly. But you're not my uncle. His eyelids abruptly lifted, his gaze locking onto me. Just what exactly are you trying to say? The words were right on the tip of my tongue, but when I suddenly met his razor-sharp gaze, I instantly cowered again. My words took a sharp turn, and I shrank back. Outside, it's thundering, I'm scared. A cold, mocking laugh escaped his throat. You really think of me as your father? That I'll come running whenever you call? His tone was sharp and icy as steel. I hurriedly lowered my head, my fingers unconsciously clenching the bedsheet. Steeling myself, my shoulders trembled slightly, and I sniffled. From my throat, a weak, muffled sob escaped. "Ah, what now?" His voice barely restrained the last trace of patience as he warned, "Listen here, if you dare cry, I'll—" Before he could finish, I let out a loud wah, and burst into tears. The floodgates opened instantly, my hands frantically wiping at my face. He clicked his tongue in annoyance and abruptly crushed the cigarette butt. His tall figure loomed closer, carrying the lingering scent of tobacco. His clearly defined hand hovered hesitantly before finally landing on top of my head, giving it a perfunctory ruffle. "Enough already," he muttered in a deep voice. There was a hint of coaxing helplessness in his tone, but no warmth. "How can a little thing like you cry so much?" I seized the chance to wrap my arms around his waist, burying my face in the solid abs beneath his shirt and rubbing against them. "Mom's gone. Dad doesn't want me. Woo-woo. You're all I have left." His body stiffened, and his breathing grew heavier. The hand that had been resting on my head now patted my back lightly, carrying a hint of helplessness. He finally spoke, his voice muffled with a barely noticeable trace of compromise. I was too harsh. "Don't cry. Be good." I didn't want to be his niece anymore. Deep down, I knew better than anyone that Roman was the type whose cold exterior concealed warmth. When my despicable father ran off and my family fell into ruin, Roman didn't throw me, helpless and alone, out on the streets out of mercy. And out of moral principle, he never laid a finger on underage me. But now I'm 18 years old. He might not need it, but I can give it, and I'm willing to. The extravagant 18th birthday party he threw for me was as lavish and grand as Roman could make it. And secretly, I decided that tonight, under the starlight he had personally lit for me, I would unveil the feelings I had kept hidden for so long. Standing outside the lounge door, just about to push it open, I overheard his friend's conversation with him. His friend's tone was teasing. "Wow, you're really doting on that little girl, treating her like your own daughter, huh?" The tone shifted, becoming ambiguous. Or. The person nudged Roman lightly with an elbow, wearing a look of teasing amusement. "Our Roman here has ulterior motives, doesn't he?" Through the door crack, I saw Roman lounging lazily on the sofa, a cigarette between his fingers. At the comment, he simply flicked the ashes off nonchalantly. His thin lips parted, releasing a wisp of pale smoke that blurred his delicate profile. Then, an extremely soft, icy chuckle escaped. She's just a little kid, what could I possibly think of her?" I held my breath, my fingers icy cold. All day long, my chest felt heavy, making it hard to breathe. At night, I tossed and turned curled up in bed. Roman's cold, piercing words from the day, "little kid," echoed relentlessly in my mind. No, that's not it. He didn't say he doesn't like me. It must just be that his impression of me is still stuck on that little girl with a ponytail and a school uniform. He doesn't realize I'm already grown up. That I'm now an 18-year-old woman with burning feelings for him. A sudden flash of inspiration, I remembered the bookmark I'd accidentally seen on his computer before. Without hesitation, I ordered a low-cut, silk camisole nightgown nearly identical to those in his collection. The dress arrived late at night. Slipping it on, the reflection in the mirror was unfamiliar, carrying an arresting allure. Steeling myself, I knocked on his study door. "Who is it?" His deep voice, muffled through the door, carried a trace of impatience. "It's me. I'm busy, talk tomorrow if you have something." He refused outright, leaving no room for argument. "Okay." The tiny bit of courage she had mustered up burst like a punctured balloon, deflating instantly. If I back down now, will I ever gather this kind of courage again? No. I can't retreat. With that in mind, she steeled herself and pushed the door open, only to see him, arms tightly wrapped around a woman with flawless makeup. Their lips locked in a passionate embrace. The moment our eyes met, the air froze instantly. He abruptly straightened up, his long lashes trembling slightly. As his gaze swept over my entire body, a fleeting shadow flashed through his eyes. Who taught you to dress like this? The woman by his side hooked her arm around his shoulder, giving me a provocative glance. Roman, who is she? A trace of impatience flickered across Roman's brow as he raised his hand and brushed her arm away. He tossed a card onto the table. Get out. The woman spat in displeasure, snatched the card, and stomped away in her sky-high heels. Roman took a deep breath, leaning against the desk. He loosened his tie, his dark eyes fixed on me, the chill in his gaze weighing heavily in the air. Clutching the hem of my clothes, I stepped forward, my voice hoarse. Roman, I like you. He chuckled low, unsurprised, his tone casual. The line of people who like me stretches all the way to the bund. I didn't say anything, and he continued, you're just a kid, and yet you've already learned to mimic adults with all this love talk? I'm not a kid. I looked up at him. He averted his gaze. To me you just are, you know I'm older than you. Before I could finish speaking, I tiptoed and kissed him. Roman's lips were incredibly soft and fragrant. He looked at me in shock and pushed me away, though the tips of his ears turned faintly red. His brow furrowed, and his piercing gaze swept over me before abruptly withdrawing. He casually grabbed the suit jacket draped over the office chair and tightly wrapped it around me. This time, I'll pretend you're clueless. He gripped my collar and pulled me half a step away. From now on, keep those childish little schemes of yours to yourself. Understood? I stared at the curve of his Adam's apple as it moved. My gaze trailed downward, past the crisp line of his dress pants, lingering on the sudden crease at the front. Then returned to meet his eyes. Why, you clearly. His pupils suddenly contracted, his fingers gripping the fabric of his jacket so tightly it rustled. This just means I'm a normal man. Isabella, don't mistake a man's lust for deep affection. He abruptly let go of me, and I staggered back a few steps, tears welling up uncontrollably in my eyes. Why can everyone else do it except me? I lifted my teary eyes to look at him, my voice growing smaller. Can't you, just like me a little? He lifted his lids, his cold gaze narrowing at me. Impossible. Not in this lifetime. After a brief silence, he straightened up and looked down at me. Listen. If you still want to stay under my roof, you better behave yourself and finish your studies. And then? He withdrew his gaze, his voice low and hoarse. Go wherever you're supposed to go. After that night, Roman didn't step foot in the house for a full 2 weeks. No matter how I feigned illness or played pitiful, none of it worked. To spite him, I arranged to meet classmates at a bar and drink until dawn. After a few rounds of drinks, my phone rang, displaying the words in bold, "Big bad guy." Roman's voice on the other end of the line was laced with suppressed anger. Where are you? The tipsy feeling suddenly cleared a bit, and I said somewhat guiltily, I'm at home. A cold laugh came from the other end. Will you come down on your own, or do I have to come up? Startled, I peeked out the window. A Maserati was parked right at the entrance of the bar. Its hazard lights suddenly flashed, the beams slicing through the rain with 2 sharp lines. With the help of my classmates, I stumbled downstairs and clumsily climbed into the passenger seat. Clutching the seatbelt, I sneaked glances at his tense profile. Roman drove with a sullen expression, silent the entire way. The car headed towards Roman's estate and stopped in front of the main house. Roman held my high heels in one hand and hoisted me over his shoulder with the other, carrying me upstairs. He threw me onto the bed and began lecturing me again. Was that any place for you to be? Acting wild now? Dazed, I wrapped my arms around his waist, clinging to him limply while murmuring tearfully. You don't care about me anymore. I'm so sad. Roman. I really, really like you. Please don't go. I adore him, I depend on him, I want him. Under the dual influence of alcohol and affection, I boldly confessed my feelings. I faintly remember him leaning down to kiss me. From the bed to the coffee table, and then to the mirror in the bathroom. Just as things were about to spiral out of control, I heard a loud smack. He slapped himself across the face. When I woke up the next morning, my clothes were neatly arranged as before. Calling his number only yielded endless busy signals. That afternoon, the entertainment headlines exploded. Photos of the young master Roman shopping and passionately kissing the popular actress flooded the entire internet. Eloise isn't just a big star, she's the daughter of a corporate tycoon as well. I heard the rumors Eloise and Roman are preparing for an arranged marriage. A young master and a wealthy heiress, truly a match made in heaven. I'm not surprised at all they're together, they look perfect for each other. Looking at the flood of comments, my heart ached as if pierced by a knife. I dialed his number dozens more times, but still, no one answered. Calling his assistant only yielded the same response: the CEO is in a meeting. The last shred of my self-control burned to ashes. I pushed past layers of security and barged into his office. As I swung open the heavy walnut door, he was signing documents. Leisurely closing the folder, he lifted his eyes to me with no warmth in his gaze. With a gesture, he dismissed the security. The vast office was now empty except for the two of us. Is it true? I heard my voice trembling. What are you referring to? The arranged marriage. I walked up to him, just like before, lightly pinching the sleeve of his expensive suit with my fingertips. Tears welled up in my eyes as I looked up at him brightly. Roman, don't marry someone else. I beg you. But this time, his eyes were frosty, unmoved. Stop making a scene. Go back. I won't. I stubbornly refused to let go, my voice rising. Are you doing this just to make me give up, even if it means sacrificing yourself? Why, would you rather marry a woman you have no feelings for than accept me? With a subtle flick of his wrist, he smoothly withdrew his arm. Leaning back into the leather sofa, his slender fingers rested casually on the armrest, fingertips tapping rhythmically. His gaze settled on my face, sharp and piercing. First, don't overestimate yourself. Second, who told you that there's no affection between us? Lastly, whether there's someone else or not, I won't accept you. His eyes swept over my face, his tone so calm it was brutal. Because you're not my type. I don't believe it. He fell silent. I cried even harder, this time it wasn't an act, but genuine misery. His brow furrowed slightly as he turned his gaze away. Tears blurred her vision, yet crystal clear was the stack of glaring wedding invitations on the corner of his desk. The gilded lettering boldly bore his name and another woman's. The unnamed fury in my heart burned through all reason. I lunged forward, grabbing the stack of invitation cards that were blindingly red without a second thought. Some I threw, others I tore to pieces. Isabella. His stern reprimand was drowned in the chaos. The air fell silent. I stared at him wide-eyed, sensing the dangerous fury. Oh no, he's really angry. I turned around and wanted to run. A wild, irresistible force yanked me back violently, staggering me into his embrace. He gripped my wrist with one hand, while the other casually loosened his tie. His Adam's apple bobbed as a heavy shadow loomed over me. His deep voice was terrifyingly calm, each word striking the dead silence. Have I perhaps spoiled you too much? He had the bodyguards haul me out. It started pouring rain outside, and I stubbornly refused to leave. The bodyguard helplessly took out his phone, and Roman's icy voice came through from the other end. Give her the umbrella. She can get in the car once she's done crying. All hope in my heart vanished completely, and I took the car back to the estate. That evening, the nanny prepared dinner. I took one bite but immediately spat it out. No, I was going to starve myself. Then I locked myself in my room and munched on potato chips. Late at night, Roman returned. Footsteps echoed outside the door. I hurriedly hid the snacks in my hand. The door opened, but I curled up on the couch, deliberately avoiding his gaze. He stood at the doorway, one hand tucked in his pocket, and glanced at me indifferently. He spoke, his tone laced with a hint of coldness. Changed your strategy? Planning to starve yourself to death? I kept my head down and didn't respond. He stepped closer, the scent of cedar enveloping me. His warm hand grasped my wrist. I looked up, puzzled, staring at his back. "What are you doing?" With unwavering determination, he pulled me to my feet. "Taking you to eat." I withdrew my hand, resisting. "I won't eat, over my dead body." Hiccup, damn it, now of all times. I quickly covered my mouth. Roman froze, turning his head to stare at me with an unreadable gaze for a long moment. Then, his gaze fell on the snack wrappers crammed into the trash can. He let out a muffled grunt from his throat, looking at me as if he'd caught me in the act. He released my hand and turned to leave. "Don't go." I frantically wrapped my arms around his waist, pressing myself against his back without reservation. My voice was filled with brokenness, carrying an unmistakable sob. "I really can't live without you, don't leave me all alone." I couldn't care less about restraint, my palm slid over his chest muscles, tightening slightly. "I've grown up already. Whatever you want, I can give it to you too. Please don't leave me." I looked at him with near pleading eyes, my vision growing hot. His chest heaved violently twice, his breathing growing heavier. I felt the warmth of his palm. For once, he didn't push me away. Instead, he took my hand and let out a long breath. Turning around, his fingertips unconsciously brushed the back of my hand. Holding himself back, he looked at me and slowly began to speak. "I admit, I've thought about sleeping with you, more than once." My cheeks felt warm. How could he say such crude things? His gaze flickered, his tone low. "But you've seen the kind of person I am. I don't do marriage, relationships, or promises. The women I've been with far outnumber what you can imagine. I'm not clean." He paused, his voice softening further, his expression grave. "In this lifetime of mine, Roman, this is just how it is. I admit I'm not a good person, but you're different, your life has only just begun. I'm not the type for lasting affection, and besides, I'm so much older than you. If I were to lay a hand on you, I'd be worse than scum. But I don't care. I just want to stay by your side. But I do care." He frowned slightly, as if wanting to say something but swallowing the words back. Gently, he wiped the tears from the corner of my eye with his fingertip. "Complete your studies properly, and when the time comes for you to fall in love and get married, I'll arrange a dowry for you, so you can marry in grand style." I looked at him in disbelief. He actually said he would send me off when I got married. He really had no feelings for me at all. I placed my hand over his, clinging greedily to this warmth I couldn't let go of. Resigned, I lowered my eyes. Okay. Life seemed to return to normal. I went to school every day, and occasionally Roman would come home early to have dinner with me. Other than that, I avoided him as much as possible, not looking at him. But he was always on my mind. To distract myself, I started socializing more with my classmates. On the day of the club recruitment, I met Vincent, a senior. He stood amidst the crowd, the sunlight soaking through his white shirt. Unlike Roman's aggressively handsome features, when he smiled, the corners of his eyes lifted slightly, like the gentlest breeze in March. He was very kind to me, proactively teaching me about club affairs. During lunch breaks, he would secretly place a bottle of iced cola on my desk, and even took detours after school to walk me home. That day after the rain, droplets still clung to the trees along the shady path. Vincent walked beside me, speaking more softly than usual, the tips of his ears quietly turning pink. His fingers curled slightly, inadvertently brushing against my fingertips before drawing back slightly as if startled by an electric shock. Just as the almost imperceptible distance was about to vanish. Whoosh! A black car ran over a puddle, splashing water everywhere. Vincent instinctively turned to shield me, only to get drenched himself, his shirt clinging wetly to his body. Then, with a sharp screech of brakes, the black car came to a sudden stop. Furious, I gripped the strap of my backpack and was about to charge forward in protest when the car window slowly rolled down. Half hidden in the shadows of the car, a familiar profile froze me in place. "Isabella, what's wrong?" Vincent, noticing my hesitation, hurried over and followed my gaze to Roman. Snapping back to reality, I introduced him. This is my little uncle. Upon hearing this, Vincent smiled at Roman. Hello, little uncle. The man narrowed his slender eyes, glancing coldly at Vincent and then at me before withdrawing his gaze, a fleeting shadow passing through his eyes. Get in the car. I timidly replied, okay, then turned to Vincent with a smile. See you tomorrow. Roman rarely came home at this hour. The car was filled with a suffocating silence. Since that day, there had always been an intangible barrier between us. He suddenly spoke, his voice low. Got a boyfriend? No, he's my classmate. So, a boyfriend to be then. Really, there isn't. I lowered my head, fidgeting with my hands, feeling somewhat at a loss. The atmosphere just felt off somehow, but I couldn't pinpoint what exactly was strange about it. Hope so. He scoffed coldly, glancing out the window before adding indifferently, so short, with those skinny arms and legs, like some effeminate guy. Vincent was at least 180 centimeters tall, a sports school graduate with a well-proportioned, fit build. How did he end up being called skinny arms and legs? Clearly, it was just him being too tall, making everyone else look like bean sprouts by comparison. Your task now is to focus on studying, not daydreaming about nonsense all day. Another one of those outdated lectures. Despite being only 28, he speaks like some old-fashioned parent. The thought of his engagement in half a year leaves a sour taste in my heart. Clenching my fists, I retorted stiffly, none of your business. Silence fell heavily inside the car. I could feel the icy glare from the driver's seat, expecting another scolding. But he only swallowed hard and said nothing more. Only a fool would hang themselves on a single tree. Isn't it better to have a gentle, sunny, and handsome senior? With a mix of excitement and defiance, I secretly started dating Vincent. As for why it's secretly, it's because Roman harbors an inexplicable hostility toward Vincent. His gaze is off. Stay away from him, no teenage romance. I'm already an adult, so why can't I? One moment he says he'll marry me off, the next he forbids me from getting too close to others. It's completely baffling. That day after school, Vincent walked me to the intersection and suddenly stopped. His ears slightly red, he gently cupped my chin and placed a careful kiss on my forehead. Isabella, remember to miss me. His breath was warm, carrying a faint scent of mint, as he hesitantly pulled me into a light embrace. Just as my heart was pounding wildly, I suddenly met a pair of gloomy eyes. I jerked my head up. Roman was standing by the street 5 meters away, still holding the half-open glass door handle of a restaurant, his entire body frozen in place. His gaze was fixed intently on me, nestled in Vincent's arms. Roman strode towards me with long steps, exuding an icy aura. I quickly stepped back, Uncle, Before I could finish speaking, he grabbed my wrist forcefully and dragged me home without another word, leaving Vincent utterly confused and bewildered. I had never seen him this furious before, he even shattered the vase on the coffee table. Are you out of your mind? You actually have a thing for that kind of guy? Though I was a bit scared, I didn't want to back down. So what if I like him? He's a good person. He's not as bad as you say. His voice rose as he jabbed a finger toward the door. Are you seriously okay? What kind of spell has he cast on you? I swear, I'll go beat him up right now. Why are you yelling at me? You're not with me, and you won't let anyone else be with me either. You're so unreasonable. I don't care, I like him, and that's that. I didn't actually like it that much, I just didn't want to lose face in front of him. As soon as Roman heard this, he became even angrier. His gaze fell viciously on the brand new Duffy the Disney bear in my arms, and he snatched it away. Have I ever deprived you of food or clothes? I give you the best of everything. And now a stupid stuffed animal can make you this happy? Aren't you embarrassed? Because I certainly am. I stood on tiptoe trying to grab it back, but he pushed me away. We're all still students, what's wrong with giving a stuffed animal as a gift? Why do you have such a problem with him? I don't approve. I just can't stand that guy. If he dares to lay a finger on you again, I'll run him over with my car 800 times. Don't believe me? Just try it. I bit my lip and stared at the sparks in his eyes, tilting my head slightly. Roman, are you jealous? He froze for a moment, a glimmer of clarity returning to his eyes as he frowned at me. Jealous? Who do you think you are? He turned around and methodically threw the doll onto the sofa. Would I do something so childish? Ridiculous. Do whatever you want from now on, I don't want to care anymore. Bro, you seem a bit upset and defensive. Whatever, do as you please. Valentine's Day, I deliberately dressed up openly. I had a date with Vincent from afternoon till night. Then I texted Roman, I'm not coming back tonight. Seeing his delayed response, I sent another sticker. A red exclamation mark popped up. Damn, he blocked me. Fine then, I'm really not going back now. The hotel's lights were dim and suggestive as I clung to Vincent's arm down the hallway. His fingers had just touched the keycard when the metal lock emitted a soft beep. The next second, a distinctly veined hand suddenly reached from the shadows, abruptly seizing my wrist and yanking me harshly into darkness. Bang! The door slammed shut right in front of Vincent. My back collided with the hallway wall, and before I could even cry out in pain, Roman was already grabbing my chin and pressing his lips against mine. Urgent knocking sounds came from outside the door. Isabella! Isabella, are you okay? Open the door. Just as I was about to suffocate, he finally released me, but then trailed biting kisses down my neck all the way to my collarbone. Roman. Trembling from the pain, I was pulled tightly against his chest as his scorching breath fanned my ear, his voice low and hoarse. I'm just jealous. The one I picked up and raised, why should they be good to someone else? The bronze cross necklace swayed violently against his chest. With red-rimmed eyes and gritted teeth, he growled, Darling, speak louder. Make the damn dog outside scram. When I woke again, I was nestled in Roman's warm embrace. Groggily rubbing my eyes, my fingers suddenly brushed against something cold. Upon closer inspection, a diamond ring tightly clasped my ring finger, its scattered brilliance still shimmering resplendently in the dim light. The surprise in my eyes hadn't yet faded when he let out a low chuckle. His Adam's apple bobbed slightly like a satisfied beast gazing at long-coveted prey. His fingertips idly twirled a strand of my hair before pressing an almost reverent kiss upon it. I've never made anyone a promise in my life, because I never thought of being responsible for anyone. His eyes shimmered with springwater tenderness. But now, I want to tell you, I'll make you the happiest woman in the world, my one and only wife. Fingertips trailed down from my hair to my chest, then suddenly grasped my hand, pressing it solemnly against his own heart. It's been empty here for 28 years. Now it says only your hands can fill it. Sweetheart, marry me.